Welcome to a space for movement, mindset, and sustainable rhythm. This is Body Evolution. Hi, welcome to the Body Evolution Podcast, where health becomes simple, sustainable, and human. Hi, I'm Corey Rep.
And I'm Elio Berenguer, and we break down fitness, nutrition, habits, and energy through one lens what actually works in real life. So, in previous episodes, we have been talking about the 5 pillars of health, and there are areas that these areas support our real life, no? Making it sustainable for well being. And today we're going to do a little bit of a zoom in one of these pillars. We're going to go in a zoom into the part of fitness. Because most people think that fitness is about workouts, calories, and aesthetics, but real health goes deeper.
Yeah, it's about building a body that stays capable, strong, stable, resilient, like through your whole life. That's what really that fitness and exercise is about. So today we're going to go into why movement will create a bigger category of movement, not just fitness, why movement matters so much and why your muscle is very deeply connected to your health, not only for right now for strength, but for long-term health and resilience.
Exactly. And it's so important that we deep into this
Yeah.
area and we understand why modern life have removed these points.
Yeah. So why do you think movement really needs to be intentional today? Like, why can't we just go about living our lives and be healthy? Why do we need to intentionally go into movement today versus like how historically humans have evolved naturally?
Well, I love this concept of why we have to be intentional these days. And the thing is that is to understand how we have been evolving for millennials of thousands of years. And we were always in an active lifestyle. So for a long time, we were doing gathering, we were hunting, we were moving from one place to another place. We were nomads for a long time. And we needed to keep our body in constant movement for dangers, for survival, for anything. So whatever we were doing, we were always active. We were moving, climbing, walking, carrying things. We were lifting weights, moving water to the little tribe, and we were hunting and bringing the animals. So we were always in constant movements. There were moments that we needed to run because there was a predator. There were moments that we needed just to chill out and walk long distances to get anything of food. So we were always with physical effort as part of our everyday life. And that's how the human body was built, no? To be moving from one place to another, to survival, to be strong enough to fight a predator, to escape, to carry things. So it was very natural. We didn't have to think about I need movement, I need to do something. It was the only way to live. And in the modern environments, what we have found out is that with all these commodities, and they're amazing, but each time we begin to reduce it, once we invented the wheel, a lot of movement began to stop because even when we were on horses, we have to keep the horse healthy. We have to feed the horse and do things. And you were doing movement and exercising different muscles. But once we began just to drive or take a car or an airplane, then we began that we can work from home like these days. And the majority of a lot of the works we have these days is about knowledge. So it's sitting down for long hours. So what happened is that in the past we didn't need a gym, and you didn't have to think about I have to lift weights, or you didn't have to think about nothing of that. That was natural. That's the way we were evolving. And these days, we have to be intentional. Why? Because we have become sedentary with all these commodities. the cars taking you from one place to another, trains. Some people, what they walk is a little bit in the house to move from one place to another, then go to the car, take the car, get to the office, sit down in a desk, work long hours, come back home, and sit down again to watch television or to keep on working on your computer or something like that. And we lose that. We lose that. So we have to be intentional. Las sedentary lifestyles affects everything, affects our sleep, affects our nutrition, affects our metabolism. So yes, we have to keep on moving in this path where we have to be intentional with our movement. I don't know, what do you think about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because you harken back to when we evolved and how we evolved for hundreds of thousands of years to build these bodies the way they're built. It was constant movement. It was, I mean, and I think about like when I go camping, and when I go camping, I'll go really camping. And when you're like setting up your camp and you have to, you know, get the water, you have to pump, filter the water, you've got to get something to cook, you got to gather firewood, you've got to do, you got to build your structure. You're always, it seems like you're always doing something to maintain. You're always moving your body. You're always getting up. You're lifting something. You're reaching for something. You're going. You're squatting down. You're doing all these things, and that's just how you have to live your life in that state. And it's a very minor window we get into it if we just intentionally go out and camp. But that was life for so many people for so long, and that's how our bodies evolved to be constantly moving, constantly working. The other part is that the other reason for being intentional is we want more longevity than our predecessors ever had. You know, the key for them was to get to reproductive age and reproduce, and then to be able to raise the children, and even the grandparents were around a while to help the next generation, in the tribal kind of sense. But they were still only around to 40 45 years. Right now we want our lives to be a greater experience for longer. There's another reason to be intentional about our movement, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, some stats I looked up was
Yes.
those people back then, hunter-gatherer populations naturally would walk in, we talk about getting our steps in 5 to 10 miles a day.
Yeah.
That's, and typical sedentary person get like 3 to 4,000 steps a day, sometimes less. And those kind of stuff that adds up to maybe a mile and a half, kind of thing. That's 18, or so the 5 to 10 miles is 8 to 16 kilometers for people who are, not into the miles thing. But there's we've reduced it by like tenfold in so many ways
Yes.
in how much we've moved. And so really our bodies are made to move, and every system in our body is affected by movement, and the sedentary lifestyle, I mean, gets into sleep quality. People don't say you don't sleep well, it's because they're not moving your body. When you move your body, you sleep better. And of course there's a lot of reasons it could be, but that's a major factor. Also, your energy regulation, your metabolism, all of that stuff is dictated by movement, by using the systems in your body the way they're meant to be used, and that affects your overall health as well. And we'll get in a little deeper into how muscle quality and strength get into health
Yes.
aspects. Yeah.
And there is the concept of what they say NEAT. That is the concept, that is how much expenditure we're doing in normal activity, like when we are not constantly, like I go for a run or I go to do exercise, but the concept of how your metabolism is working almost when you are unrest, but before the rest was not sitting down in a couch. It was like resting, we're talking about normal uh, movement, like walking from here, pick up this, a squat for picking in something, movement. And this is that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is only how much expenditure we do, like with this little step, like going up some steps, walking around, picking up something. And this will really, really affect how much you expend there, like
Yeah,
hundreds and thousands of calories can be expended more in one year just doing these kind of things that are not like focused on exercise. And
yeah, exactly.
we have a myth, the myth that with like these days we say I go to the gym 1 hour, so that's enough, and then the rest of the day you're just sitting down, like I don't need more because I went to the gym. And the reality is, some people, even training regularly, they can
Mm,
have metabolic issues because then they spend 8, 10, 15 hours a day doing nothing else, They went 1 hour and then the whole day they are just sitting down and relax, and the body expects movement. So we
mm,
have to understand that for our metabolism is very important, for our brain is very important, for our sleep, for our nutrition, that we keep constant movement. So this is the foundational, this is the basis. So it's very interesting to see some people that just replace the gym for
yeah,
an active lifestyle. So it's more important for your longevity having an active lifestyle than just going to the gym for 1 hour a day. That's much more important. Now, if you combine them, perfect. That's a sweet spot. But only going to the gym, not doing anything in the rest of the day, that's not the best approach that we have. And we have to be aware that a sedentary, some people think that because they go to the gym, they don't have a sedentary lifestyle. If you spend more than 8 hours or 10 hours a day sitting down and not moving, you have a sedentary lifestyle. and
exactly.
and this take me to the other point. When we talk about fitness, yes, we think about aesthetics and I want to build muscle and be strong, but they have found out that muscle is super important for our longevity, and we're losing that. So I wanted to ask you, Corey, so what do you think about why do so many scientists now these days they are so focused on how important it is to be strong and build muscle, and it's a predictor for longevity in health?
Yeah, they've been doing more and more research, and I think that it's gotten more into the popular knowledge of that resistance exercise is important for everybody. And why that is, I mean, it used to be that, oh, it's only for strong young men who want to be getting big muscles. That's what weightlifting was for, right? And but over and over again, they're doing more and more studies on longevity, and they're linking muscle health to longevity in so many ways. Because your muscle is not just for moving your body, it's not just for aesthetics. It really plays a key role in our metabolism. And what muscle is it's very hungry for energy, right? It likes to burn energy. And so people talk about blood glucose and being pre-diabetic and diabetic and becoming insensitive to insulin, which is pre-diabetic, and the insulin spikes with too much glucose spike. All that stuff happens, and that's really horrible for our bodies. It's horrible for our cardiovascular systems. And what good muscle does is it basically acts like a sink. It really sucks up the glucose in your blood, and even without too much insulin needed. It can take glucose. I mean, the function of insulin is to take the sugars out of your blood and bring it into the cells, and so that it delivers the energy to your cells. So that's why insulin always goes with the sugar, right? And so muscle can take sugar out of your blood without even needing insulin. And so when you have a lot of muscle or strong muscle or quality muscle and you're stimulating those muscles, they always want to suck up more glycogen,
Even in
more blood
repose,
glucose.
even
Yes,
when you're just sitting down, those muscles
exactly.
will absorb more
Yes,
energy and consume
yeah.
more energy.
They consume more energy. They're high maintenance material, you call it. That's why you need to maintain them because you got to use it or lose it. Our history of evolution is if it's energy expensive, which muscle is, it takes a lot of energy, then our body doesn't want to keep it if we don't need it. If we're not using it, okay, we're going to shed that stuff because it takes a lot of our energy, and historically we never had a lot to eat. We didn't have a lot of food. It was always trying to be conservative, and that's how our bodies work. So anytime it gets to store energy an efficient way, which is our fat, it'll do that. And anytime it can get rid of energy dense material like your muscle, or energy sucking material like muscle, it'll reduce it. But that's why we stimulate the muscle to keep it, say, well, no, we want this muscle, we need this muscle, even if it's working out that tells our body we need the muscle. Then we can maintain it, and it makes our metabolic health so much. And then of course, as we get older, it protects our joints through the mobility and ability to do things, and resistance to falls, and just makes us more functional throughout our life, for
Yes.
resilience to disease, and independence in living, and just full experience of life. Because as we get older, you can do less and less because you don't have the energy, you don't have the mobility, you can't do the things you want to do. And why not extend that? And that's what good functional health does for you. You're able to use, and that's the muscles. The more strength you have now, when you lose it as you get older, it's because you're inevitably it's going to decline eventually. But the more you delay that decline, the more functionality you gain as you get older.
Yes. And I love what you were explaining about when your body wants to save energy, what we don't use, the body says, okay, I'm not going to put energy there. So in the past, as we were talking, well, the body knew that it needed to put a lot of energy in the muscles because you needed to survive and you were using it all the time. So we didn't need it like consciously send a signal to the body, hey, I need to keep this because it was the natural rhythm of life. But now these days, if you are sedentary, your body stops sending energy to those parts and you get weaker. And not only the importance of muscle, of building strength, is not only for the muscle, but for the bones. It's signaling. It's an adaptation machine of our body. So it says, oh, okay, I need strong muscles. So I keep taking things that are with some weight. At the same time, you're sending a signal of, hey, I keep my bones have to be strong. So I need to
Mhm.
keep my bones too in good quality. And as you were saying, the joints, the mobility. So it regenerates better, it heals better in those aspects because the body understands I need them. If I don't use them, your joints get weaker, your muscles get weaker, your everything part of the body
Yeah,
that you don't use begins to go weaker. And
yeah,
and I love, and there is a lot of studies about muscle and the
yeah,
strength. What you can tell us
yeah,
about these studies?
yeah. Well, there's kind of a myth that cardiovascular health is the key to longevity. And it is very important, of course, but there's these very, very strong links to muscular strength with longevity. And there's a study that they did, it was a very good study. They used 140,000 people across 17 countries. They called it the Pure Study, and it just involved grip strength because it was easy to measure. And there's nothing magic about grip strength versus your full body strength. Grip strength was kind of a proxy for how strong is this person in general, what's their muscle quality in general, and you could be relatively easily translated into your grip strength. So they what they did is they grip strength they found that grip strength predicted mortality better than blood pressure. And we all know, we've all heard, high blood pressure is very dangerous for your health, and it's really linked to mortality issues. They found that grip strength was a better indicator of longevity than blood pressure, which is an amazing discovery, right? And it just highlights how important. And don't, again, I want to go into this. People have marketed grippers for older people to get grip strength because grip strength is so important. No, it's not about that. It's about having general muscular health, and getting better in all your muscles to be strong and healthy. That is really what the predictor of the the longevity is. So muscle is so much not just about appearance. It's one of the really the strongest predictor of health and longevity in general.
Okay.
So when we get when we talk about as we age, I talked about we start to get weaker as we get older. What actually happens to our muscles as we age, if especially if we don't train them?
So we have found out that there is something called sarcopenia, and we have to osteopenia. Okay, and this is the natural loss of muscle strength and uh, bone density, and it's natural. While we age, we begin to lose this muscle and we begin to lose bone density. So it naturally declines while we begin to age. And being inactive, as we were talking about signaling, if we have no signals to say, hey, become stronger, you're going to lose it even faster. So strength training protects and delays the sarcopenia and protects and delays the osteopenia. So usually it's normal that around age of 30 we begin to lose a little bit of muscle. That is going to be incrementing when we are 40s and we are 50s, and it's going to go up that percentage of muscle we lose for in a year. So usually you can be losing from 3 to 8% of muscle a year. And when we do the strength training, when we keep our body strong, we delay that. So you will be more in that 2%, 3% less, losing that muscle, that strength, or thus bone density. But when you have a sedentary life, you are going to be more near to the 8 or 10% of losing that muscle. So what this is telling you is that if you don't train yourself and you don't send a signal to your body to say, hey, I have to keep this, it's important for me, it's important for my survival. Well, if there is a curve, we will see that here is 60 and we have a decay. If someone have been training and keep training, the decay is going to be slower and slower, and the other one is going to drop very fast. And that's why a lot of people around 60, 70 begin to have really struggles that are related with muscle. And sometimes you see yourself like similar in the mirror, but you're not realizing that you're losing muscle and you're creating more fat, around, more fat into the muscle, between muscles and everything. And we are getting, the body begins to go weaker. And that's a problem that for a long time, there was a moment that we began to do more, less run. Cardiovascular is the best way, but we forget about the muscle and that create this problem. So we really need to see that it's very important, the muscle, for quality of life. Because it's true that with medicine and everything these days, you have longevity. So you live longer years. But the quality of those years are the most important. It's the health span. It's not only I want to live more years because science right now and medicine are doing a great job with medicaments and a lot of surgeries and things to keep you alive for a longer time. But the quality, it drops down really hard. And that's what we want to maintain. We want to be able to play with our grandchilds. We want to be able to have an active life, be more independent in the future. And even it's one of those parameters that can tell you if you're going to break your hip or no. Is you're very weak and you step with something when you are 70, it's very easily that you fall down and you break. There is no protection about your hip. There is no muscles there. You cannot put the hands and resist the hit. So it's
Or
really
the
important.
strength to move your foot fast enough to catch yourself.
X,
That is a strength related. That's
X.
power actually that people need, and that's another thing that the resistance
So
exercise. Yeah,
the conclusion for me is exactly that um, if we don't use it, we lose it. It's as
yeah,
simple as that. So
yeah.
we need to keep on moving forward in teaching our body with signals that we have to hey, I need these to maintain these to survive. And
Yeah.
that's the only way today, sadly, we have to do it intentionally. It's not
Yes.
in our natural rhythm of these days.
Again, and if we want to extend our life longer than would naturally be in our history, we need to do it intentionally.
Yes.
And also, I want to highlight that that curve goes down, in your muscular strength and your bone density will go down if you in a consistent way if you have the same lifestyle. But it doesn't mean as you get older you can't actually gain strength because if you've been under your ideal curve, you can jump up toward your ideal curve. Even later in life, you can gain strength. You can gain muscle density, I'm sorry, muscle density, bone density as well. So it's important for people to know that it's all is not lost. If I've lost a lot of strength, or maybe people are listening to this who are older and have lost a lot of strength, or maybe they're in their 60s and it's like, oh, barely I can barely get out of bed anymore. You can still gain strength. You can jump back up on the highest potential curve you have is, that you're strong and capable into your 70s and maybe it's going down slowly. You can still jump up toward that.
Yes.
And so even if you're down, you can still make up for it. And the earlier the better, but you can always do some improvement.
Yes. And I love that what you're saying, because even if you're 50 or 60 and you say it's too late for me, it's never late. Like, this is when you say it's better late than never, but always you can do something about. And even if you start at 50 or 60, if you begin to train, you can delay that curve, you can gain some strength, but not only that, you will improve your metabolism. So you're going to improve the markers we were talking about. If you're pre-diabetic, if you have issues with insulin, they are going to improve, all of them, just adding a little bit of a strength training. And it's not to go crazy about strength training. And it's not about all these things that you see in social media and these days that you have to do so many things and so many different trainings and everything. No, we have to learn that is to keep it simple. So I wanted to ask you about, like, if someone these days they want to train their body, okay, and they want to train their body just to be healthy. We're talking about being healthy, not if you are in a competition, bodybuilding, or any sport, because then you will need a specific kind of training. But if someone these days wants to be healthy, what kind of movements actually matter the most for a person to be doing these days?
Okay. Yeah. There are five sort of basic movements that we talk about in functional movement. Uh, one of the main ones that everybody kind of knows what it is it's a squat, and it can be something as simple as sitting down into a chair and standing back up, and the more range of motion, the better for all of these things. And but the squat is a basic motion, and you can approximate that in a lot of ways. At the gym, they got these machines called leg press. It's the same kind of motion for your body. Another one is number two is a hinge. A hinge is just bending over to pick something up, right? So a hinge is sort of bending at the waist. And there's a lot of ways to do that as well. You can do single leg, you know, two legs down there, and it's for mobility at the hip and some strength to be able to lift things off the ground if you need to. And a squat is to lift things, and so is a hinge. So if you need to lift something off the ground, something that you might not be able to squat around to grab, you still need to be able to do that hinge motion. Uh, then we get into upper body with a push. Push is a basic motion. You're just pushing away from yourself. And that incorporates some of your major muscle groups, your pectoral muscles, your deltoids, your triceps. That's the push motion. And so you get major some of your major upper body muscles through the push motion. And the rest of your major upper body muscles, you get through the pull motion. That's number four, pull. So you're reaching and pulling something, or reaching up and pulling something down, or pulling your body weight up, right? That's the pull motion. That gets into your back muscles. It gets into your biceps, into the rear part of your shoulders. That that is very functional. Those push and pulls are all your functional motions for your upper body. Then you get something that combines upper and lower body is a carry, and that's something that you just maybe holding some weight and maybe holding it above on your shoulders, holding it in your arms, and just walking with weight. That's a basic motion. And these are the things that are going to keep your body functional, keep your body strong. And oh, by the way, it's if you do all of these motions, and we'll talk about how to work them most efficiently in a little while, but if you do all these motions, your body's going to look better too. This is all in terms of a basic looking good. If you want to look at the aesthetics, you don't have to go and do all these fancy workouts that people talk about, all these crazy aerobic kind of stuff, or dancing, or things that take this balance, or handstands, or and you don't have to go to the gym and do these isolation exercises like curls, or these things that people are doing that are very very specific to specific muscle groups, or specific to balance, and doing crazy performative kind of exercises that you get these TikTok and Instagram people. It's like they want to be entertaining, so they're like, oh, look at what I can do with my body, and people think they need to do that for fitness. No, no, these are the basic movements: the squat, the hinge, the
Uh,
push, the pull, the carry. And they will make your body, they will transform your body into something that looks great if you do those consistently.
yes.
And then if you wanted to tweak something, or really go into some higher level of bodybuilding, or athletic performance, then you get into specifics. But these will get you 90% of the way there in terms of your body aesthetics as well.
And I love that. I love what you're saying because the five movements you just mentioned is really the natural movements you will do in a daily life. Like when we were talking about our ancestors and everything, these were the main movements they were doing. They were not training a specific muscle. I'm gonna train only my arm here or only my bicep. No, they were just doing movement. And all these movements you say, they integrate all the big muscles of the body. So you're working all the muscles. Every muscle is interacting in these movements, and they are the natural human movements. And I love what you were saying because these movements help to recruit all these big muscles groups. They stabilize the joints, so they help the movement of the joints, and they
Mhm.
give you some coordination. They like carrying. You have to balance the weight. We can do it with the back. We can do it picking something, but you have to stabilize. So it gives you a stabilization and coordination. I love these
Mhm.
points.
Yeah, and all of these functional movements where you use multi joints at one time, you're you're practicing the coordination of muscles for those realistic life experiences that you're going to need to do. And that's why they call them functional movements, because they actually coordinate your body to be able to function throughout life, as opposed to, like you said, isolating a specific muscle just to make that muscle look a different way. Yeah.
Yes, and a point here is important to understand too that while we're talking about this, it's always to have in mind too that when you do this kind of strength trainings, we need a space, no, for recovery. We need a moment for let the muscles build up to recover from that stress that you put in the muscles. And it have to be accompanied with some nutritional too to help this development. So we have to have that in mind in
Yeah,
future
those other
episodes.
pillars are pillars of health that we mentioned in previous episode. They always interlink, and they always overlap, and help each other out. And like you said, recovery is so important for this muscular strength, and building, and nutrition to support it. Yeah, absolutely. And
And
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was going to ask you like, what is the difference between a multi-joint movement that we're talking versus a single movement of one joint, like only training
Okay,
one thing?
okay, I can demonstrate it a little bit. And let me see if I make the camera focus a little bit. So let me say I'm doing a pull motion, which is a multi-joint exercise. So let's see if I can angle me down a little bit. Anyway, so pulling is I'm reaching out and pulling back. So my shoulder's going backward, my elbow is bending. So that's a multi-joint exercise. So my shoulder going backward is being pulled by my lat, by my rear deltoid. That's pulling down. And then my elbow bending is my bicep pulling. And so, and I'm also using my grip strength to hold whatever I'm holding to pull on it. And so that's my forearms. And so you have multi-joint exercise working here. And so you're working major muscle groups, a bunch of different muscle groups: rear, back, rear delts, biceps, all with a pull motion. An isolation motion would be just an arm curl, to where I'm just bending at the elbow, just working the bicep part. So that's an isolation exercise versus a multi-joint functional movement.
Okay. Beautiful. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So as we look into this, people might be asking, so how do I do this? So you've just described these motions. So what's a practical way to fit this kind of thing into my life? What should I do to make this to start making this work for me?
Okay, so there is this thing these days that we think when we are going to train so there are several concepts that they are misunderstood. No, some people think that if they go to the gym and do strength training, especially it happens a lot with women and some men, I don't want to be bulk, I don't want to be very big, and it's like, trust me, if it was that easy, everybody will be already bulk and big. It's very hard to train for that. Then you have to do a lot of hours. But to be strong, to be fit, and to have the strength and everything, we don't need too much. This is the part where people misunderstood what we realistically can adapt in our lifestyle. So the simple structure will be 2 to 3 strength training a week, and they don't have to be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hour training. There are different modalities and different things, and I will say that between it can be from 15 minutes to 45 minutes of strength training in each of these days. Usually you're going to get enough for being healthy, and we're talking about the basic to be healthy. If you want to train a strength for a specific things, maybe you need more, but to keep ourselves 2 3 times of strength sessions per week, you're going to grow muscle, and more if you have not been doing it for a long time. You will see results faster and gainings faster, no? But if you have been training for a long time, it's harder to build up over that, and maybe you need more training if you want to a bigger hypertrophy or something like that. You will need more, but 2 times a week or 3 times a week is enough. Is completely enough. And if you do these 5 movements that we were talking, in those 5 movements, we have a little bit more integration. So we can say that when you do a pull, uh, one thing is pulling like a row to your body, and you're working some muscles. But then we have the pull, like lateral pull downs or pull ups, where we're working a little bit different group of muscles. They are all integrating, but it will aim at specific muscles in a better way than other. So for pulls, we have the two main row pull-ups. We have the squats. And the squats will work everything and more. If even when you come up, you put into your toes, then you're working even the calf at the same time. When we do deadlift or hinge, we will be training our glutes, our legs, our lower back that is so important, like back extensions or something like that. Bringing something heavy up will make a stronger back, lower back. Then we have the push, like push ups, or we're pushing. So we can push like shoulder press too, is pushing up or pushing away in front of us. All those movements gonna bring you a lot of functionality. And then we have farmer carriers that are not like just pick some weight and walk with them. You can balance one side, you can balance the other side, or pick up the weights in each of the hands and work with them, or you can put a bag heavy and work with them, and you will be working balance, stability, and you will be engaging different kind of muscles, upper body and lower body. So if you do a session of a circuit like in 15 minutes of working each muscle, that's, if you're just starting, that's enough. And maybe with 15 minutes, 20 or 30 minutes, you will be done. So we're talking about that maybe you have just to work out along a week, 1 hour for the whole week. An hour of training could be enough. Ideally, maybe you do 30 minutes training. So it will be 1 hour and a half going 3 times to the gym.
Mhm.
But it doesn't even have to go to the gym. You can do it in parks. You can do, like, you can do with your body weight. You know, if we want to build more strength, usually we will have to add a little bit more overload of weight. But if you are just starting with your body weight is enough to just start. And when you reach a plateau, then you will add some weights. But we don't need more than that. That's a very short training that gives you so much benefits in return. So
Yeah.
it's one of the most myth that people have around is that you have to work out for hours, 5, 6, 10 hours. You have to go 6 days to the gym to be stronger. It's not true. One training of this help you to maintain muscle. Two trainings or three trainings help you to develop a little bit more strength. And the science have chose exactly that with two strength training per week, you will improve muscle mass, bone density, and metabolic health with only two strength training a week. And we are talking about from 30 to 60 minutes weekly that can
Yeah.
reduce by 10 to 20% mortality risk. Imagine that how much people is paying a lot in medicaments when they are old to gain those 10 or 20% of mortality risk. And you can do it for free. You can do it at your home. You can just doing that. And for people who's just starting, forget about complicated routines with
Mm.
I don't know 20 kind of different exercises and doing this and that. No, you don't have to do all that. When you're just starting, a simple routine of these five movements we were talking and combining them is going to be enough. So strength training to have it's not to be complicated. It
Yeah.
just need to be consistent. If you build that consistency, the signaling, you're going to improve, and you will see, as you were saying, you do this, and you're going to keep yourself focus on the health, focus on quality, but as a collateral benefit, you're gonna look amazing. You're gonna begin to have a better shape. Your mood is gonna improve because you're moving. The body loves that. Your metabolic health is gonna improve. So you're gonna have less issues in the future. So and you're gonna look great. That's the truth. And talking about this training of strengths, there are some basics. So, what are the fundamentals that actually make a strength training so effective?
Right. Right. So we talked about the types of movement we want to do. And now get a little bit more technically involved in if you're actually doing resistance training, what are the fundamental practices that actually make it effective? Because you can't just, you can go and do the motions, and then if you're doing something that's not challenging for your body, you're not really going to gain any more strength or muscle, or you're not really improving your muscle quality. The movement's always good, but if you're not doing these principles, then you're probably not getting much out of it. So there are three principles that really go into making this effective. The first one is called progressive overload. And progressive overload means that you kind of just keep adding weight. You keep getting stronger, adding weight as you get stronger, and this will plateau out once you reach your maximum potential, but most people aren't even near that. So the principle you want to look at is always trying to get stronger. When you're first approaching these exercises, always first be comfortable with them. Get comfortable with the motion before you start adding a lot of weight. So you don't want to work to really challenge your muscles the very first time you try something. Let's get comfortable with it, but then start to incrementally add some weight until that gets to where you reach what we call failure, meaning you can't do another rep. Like I have so much weight on here that I can't do this another time. I can't do another repetition. That means, okay, that's reach failure. So if you if you keep adding weight until you can reach failure within a set, which is a set could be anywhere from 5 or 6 to up to 20 to 30 repetitions, but I like to aim for around 12. It's 8 to 12 is a good sort of I've done the set. It doesn't take so long. It doesn't take so much, mental concentration to get through it. Because if you're doing it for 30 reps, it takes a lot to get through but if you want to keep it into 8 to 12, it's like you've got some repetitions in there, you're feeling good, and it's like, oh, it's starting to get really hard at 10 repetitions, then you've reached failure. And once you get beyond, when you're getting up near 15 reps with that weight, then you can add weight, and then it brings your number of reps back down. That's called progressive overload. Just keep adding that weight till you hit that sort of range of repetitions to where you reach failure. And that's the main thing that will gain strength through these motions. uh, the second principle is a full range of motion, which is making sure that when you go through a motion, that you're going through the full range of motion. So you're exercising the muscle and the joint through a full range of motion, so that you're keeping the mobility in that motion. Because I could, if I was working my bicep and I just was doing the end range of motion on that bicep, I'm not working my elbow through that full range of motion. And again, I want to do functional exercise, so I want to do a full pull if I'm working my bicep, right? So I want to be stretching the back and the back of my shoulders, and stretching the bicep on the this end of the motion, and the other end of the motion I want to get to where those muscles are squeezing. They're the short as they can get in the back and the behind my shoulder and my bicep. So full range of motion will keep those joints and the muscles go mobile enough for full functional movement. And you can get beyond that and do into stretching and do some actual mobility work. But going through full range of motion with your resistance training covers a big portion of that, if you're really concentrating on the full range of motion. So you really keep that mobility.
Okay.
And it also will, the going through the full range of motion provides a better muscle stimulus. You
Mm.
get a better strength reaction through stretching the muscle in with resistance. Those are, there's a lot of studies that support that as well. And then the third principle is, as we talked about, consistency. Consistency even over intensity. You don't need to hit it so hard every time if you're hitting it consistently. You don't need to work to that full failure and just really struggle through this. If you get close to failure and you do it twice a week versus like really working it hard once a week, the consistency works better. And if you're always coming back to it.
So, talking about this, I want to resume. So, you say three principles that are important. One is the overload, principle
Mhm.
one. Principle two is the full range of motion, a complete movement
Mhm.
with the eccentric and concentric, doing the whole movement of your
Yeah.
muscle in that bone and your joints. And the third one, you were talking about being more consistent over intensity.
Mhm.
And this is so powerful because, as you were saying, these concepts, I was thinking like, yes, it's like that's how the body adapts. No, you have to challenge it a little bit, the overload. You have to do the whole movement, so it integrates all the muscles, all the joints, and everything. And it's more important to be consistent than just going super intense one time and don't do it again in 1 month. No, it's like, hey, I prefer maybe you don't go crazy every time, but you are consistent week by week doing this exercise. I just wanted to ask you a little bit so we can explain people uh, about this part of basics. What we have to companion in the part of sleep recovery and nutrition that can be helpful
Oh
related to
yeah.
these principles.
So yeah, when you work a muscle and you fatigue it significantly and you stimulate what we call protein muscle synthesis, which is your body's a way to say, oh, these muscles are being challenged, they need to be stronger. So we're gonna, you know, create some more. We're gonna get the protein, synthesis going on in those muscle cells so that they can expand and grow and multiply. And so that is happens with most workouts from your work of muscle, that protein muscle synthesis is triggered for like 24 to 48 hours. And during that time, you need to rest and recover to allow that to happen.
Okay.
Constant training doesn't work. Consistency is good, but you need that space between the stimulus so that your body can actually do the growing, do the recovery. And so, and sleep is so good for that, and nutrition is so important for that. It's particularly for protein muscle synthesis. Synthesis is right in there. Protein is what builds your muscle, and so you need significant protein in your diet to be able to support the muscle maintenance and muscle growth. And so the rest in between these workouts is important, and the training for protein and the diet for protein intake for the support.
So to resume, we should do a strength training.
Hmm.
We should, so in the strength training, what I understand is I'm not getting stronger when I do the strength training in the gym. I understand that we are getting it weaker. We are turning that muscle apart. Some fibers are
Yeah,
breaking there and everything. And
eating,
we're
and we're
saying,
draining the energy from the energy sources from the muscle, the glucose
okay.
and the,
So
yes,
then we need uh, at least 1 to 2 days, better 2 days of recovery, allowing during our sleep and our rest that muscle to build up and gain the strength that it needs. So
yes,
that's why it's so important 2 to 3 trainings a week. So we
yep,
allow that space of recovery. So you train Monday, you stop for Tuesday, maybe you come back on Wednesday, or you train Monday and you come back on Thursday, and
mhm,
you allow that process where the body can feel, and there is where it gets strong. And the protein you were saying, I understand that it's important to take this protein during the period of time that we are resting, no, like that recovery period, those 24 48 hours, good
yep,
intake of protein, so the body have the building material to build the strength in the muscle, no?
that's right.
Love it. Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about sort of translating this into everyday life. Like when when you're talking about, not just going to the gym, but how does strength become part of somebody's, like, who they are, rather than just like isolating, like going to the gym for a workout. How about just thinking of yourself as a strong person?
Well, this is about your capacity and capability of everyday life. Like if you go to the grocery and you buy stuff that you can be able to carry those groceries, and maybe you have to walk 1 kilometer, 500 meters, 1 mile, whatever you need, you have the ability to carry that weight. No, it's like bringing groceries home. That's what some of our ancestors were doing. They were going to collect things and bringing it home. So it's a natural part of the process. Doing this, when you carry weight and you bring it home, you are activating the different muscles. You are challenging your body because maybe you are walking a long distance with your groceries and they are heavy, or maybe you went to buy water, and you have 5 liters on top of you. So it's not that much, but trust me, if you walk five with 5 liters for 1 kilometer, it's tiring. It's like you have to keep it. And all this is a natural lifestyle where you're going to move your joints, move your muscles. So is what it brings to your lifestyle. Being strong in these endeavors is the moving with confidence and moving with independence. You don't need 5 people to help you to move this because it's no. You will have the strength, and this strength gives you independence. It gives you resilience. It gives you confidence. We were talking. You will look better. You will feel better, and it's not gonna stop. So there are many moments in life that we really need to do movements where we need to engage our muscles. Sadly, because every time we are more comfortable, well, we go to the grocery, take the car, and bring the food back, so we don't engage in that way. Sadly, we have elevators, so we don't take any more the stairs. So in everyday life, I will say even if you're not going to a gym and you do this strength training we were talking in a natural way at home, another way to engage this is walk the kilometer, pick your grocery, come back. uh, Go up the stairs from time to time. I'm not telling you have to always go up the stairs, but hey, if you are not in a rush, don't take the elevator. Go 5 floors up in the stairs. That will be very good for your quad, for your leg, for your muscle mobility. So it's important that we understand that it brings not only health to the body, but it brings health to the mind and to the brain.
Yep.
So it's important that we integrate this in our daily life as a part of our motion, how we move. And the
Yeah.
science have tell us, and there are research made that in older adults who train, do resistance training, it reduces fall risk, as we were saying before, in 30%. It improved the walking speed, it improved the balance. And this we're talking in older people, but it's affecting too young people to be able to do all this. And leg strength and walking speeds are predictors of health aging. And this we need to understand. We imagine you are going up the stairs and you go up 2 stairs, 2 floors, and you're like almost dying. Why? Because you are not used to it. Your body have to send a lot of energy to the muscles and oxygen, and your body's not adapted to that. So the more we do this adaptation, we repeat this, the better the body's gonna behave, the better you're gonna feel. It's less challenging. It reminds me not long. I'm living in Paris right now, and we went to see the Eiffel Tower. So there is a part where you have elevators to move around the Eiffel Tower, or you can go these stairs. And I decided, let's go these stairs. Why not? I enjoy the view. I challenge myself. It's a lot of stairs going up. And I did it with my girlfriend. And it was amazing. At the end, we said, like, let's go fast. How much it takes us time to get up. And we play. It was like playful to do this. And I didn't go to the gym that day, but trust me, I worked my glutes and my quads a lot that day, going up the stairs. And it was fun. Or you go hiking and up the mountain, and maybe you play with a kid in a tree, and you climb the tree. Like, that's why kids are so healthy. They
Yeah.
keep on moving,
Yeah.
playing, they are joyful, and they do a lot of strength training without being conscious.
Yeah.
When they're hanging in things and picking up themselves up and going to the floor and doing the squat, they are doing all these natural movement where you play. So in our everyday life, I will say, introduce that playfulness, introduce those challenges. Look, take your friend. One day you are walking and you arrive to the apartment. I have done this sometimes with my girlfriend. I live in a sixth floor. Like, I'm gonna take the elevator. So I go the stairs and I try to beat the elevator. So I go as fast as possible going up the stairs as a playful way
Mhm.
to, it's playful, it's fun, and I'm working out. So in everyday life, being able you want to play soccer, you want to play American football, you want to play rugby, baseball, any sport, that it doesn't mean that you have to do it every day, but if you do it with your friends sometimes, you want to be able to do it and enjoy the process. And it's not a suffering, oh my God, a match. No, 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 I'm gonna be. No,
Yeah.
that's why we talk about the confidence. Hey,
Yep.
let's do this. Let's play some squash. Let's play this. And for example, it is going to help you to avoid injury when you're strong. Your
Yeah.
joints are more balanced, your strength is better. So sometimes we go to play. I know a friend recently was playing squash. He broke his ankle. And for sure, he maybe stepped back, he maybe, but for sure, if he had been uh, more conscious that maybe he trained for that sport. So it's interesting. That will be a specific training. But any of these kind of movements and strength is going to help you to reduce the risk of injury. And
Yep.
if you're going to do some of these sports frequently, I will say train some of the muscles specific for that stuff. Like if you're gonna play soccer, train a little bit more your legs, go more up the stairs, do some turns, some movements,
Yeah,
do more. Those muscles gonna help your joints to not twist or something because it's gonna keep them in place. So
exactly. Yeah, and when you identify as that person who's like, I am a strong person, I'm a capable person, then you kind of are more free to challenge yourself about those things and to do those things. And you think about, the playfulness in life and lifting up a child, whether it be your child or your niece or nephew or a grandchild, be able to lift that child up and throw it in the air and play and be the strong one, and even in their eyes. But it just knowing you have the confidence to be able to do the things you want to do with your body, that is the strong, capable person you're becoming, and that you maintain and support through, those little activities and challenges you give yourself in life, to where it's not just when I go to the gym, I'm always strong and capable, and I can always accentuate that. So,
yes,
wrapping this up is like strength. Basically, we talked about strength is so much more than just about aesthetics, right? It's about building a body that supports your life for now, for your full experience of life, but also for decades to come. And that's what we're really talking about here.
I love what you say, and I just want to share with Rand. It's like if you really find this conversation that has helped you, if you see now movement in a different way, please follow our podcast where we're going to share more information, where we're going to go deeper into different topics about health. And if you see that it's really interesting, you can share with a friend who may be thinking about doing some exercise. Hey, think about these concepts. And yes, in next episodes, we will continue exploring more pillars of health and we're going to go deeper into different topics.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, we also have links below. We have free resources you can check out to take some action right now. So go ahead, and if this did inspire you, we've got some resources that can help you keep moving. We've got our own coaching as well, the Body Evolution Program that you can check out if you want to go, deeper with our coaching. And you can follow us on social media. We'll always give new tips and tricks and little hints on how to make these changes. And all the links are in the description below. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and let's do this.
All right, let's do this.